Currently, our budget has 91 categories, 12 category groups, and a lot of numbers. Stick around to see how finding out just what info you need in YNAB just got 100 times easier. Hello, my sweet summer budgeters. Hannah coming at you to talk about one of YNAB's newest features you've probably noticed pop up in your budget recently, Focused Views. Now, this bad boy has been out in the wild for a while now, and you guys have been sharing how Focused Views have changed your budgeting game. So what better way to celebrate a new feature than to learn from each other's wins and hacks? Yeah! So first, just a brief little rundown of Focused Views in case you haven't touched it yet. If you pop into your budget on the web app, right here at the top, you should see a row of Focused View buttons. If you're using Focused Views on mobile, look for the 3 lines in the circle icon. Now, we do have some default Focused Views at the top. We have all, overspent, underfunded, overfunded, and money available. Though your overspent will remain out and about in the budget on the mobile app for all the time easy access. Clicking one of these buttons will filter your entire budget to show just these categories. So, any categories that have overspending you may want to deal with or be aware of, categories you haven't funded fully yet, and categories that actually have more than they need. And if you're trying to figure out how you can roll with the punches on a priority shift, Money Available will pull up all your categories that are in the green and you might consider borrowing from, as well as filtering out all of your spent categories. And that alone is pretty darn handy, especially the overspent Focused View. That's the one I tend to click on the most just to see where we're at the moment. But you also have the ability to create your own unique Focused Views just by clicking these 3 lines and clicking New View. Here you can select any combination of unique categories from any assortment of category groups and give it a unique view name so you can easily pull them up with the click of a button anytime you need to slim down your budget to show just the categories you're concerned with at the moment. Once you fill up the top bar of your budget, any other Focused Views you create will be accessible by clicking the 3 lines, and you can manage these views to rename or reorganize them any old way you want. Like moving YNAB's default Focused Views to the back and putting your favorite Focused Views front and center. So far, the only real Focused View my husband and I have created is a fun money view where YNAB pulls up my fun money category, his fun money category, and our fun spending category for our dog. The essentials, you see. But what have been your essential views? We've been keeping an eye out for how you guys have been using Focused Views out in the wild, and here are 12 great ideas to adopt or adapt to your own budget. For those who like to follow the 50-30-20 rule, Undifferentiated Bait on Reddit has created a 50 needs view, a 30 wants view, and a 20 savings/debt view. This helps them make sure they're allocating all their dollars in a way that aligns with their financial values by being able to pull up all their needs or all their wants at once and making sure they still generally fit within that 50-30-20 rule, no matter which category group these categories live in their budget. Agreeable Nothing Zero from Reddit took that idea one step further as a way to help them shift from the 50-30-20 rule to a 30-20-50 rule where they hope to spend 30% of their income on needs, 20% on wants, and a whopping 50% towards savings and debt payoff. These Focused Views are helping them crunch the numbers and see where they can make changes to achieve this impressive goal. Now let's talk cars. Expenses for our cars tend to live all over our budget. Reddit user former Katsa Chick said their gas category lived in their frequent category group, their car payments category lived in the debts category group, and insurance and repairs were kept in non-monthly. So that's like all over the place. Now, despite those 4 categories existing in 3 separate category groups, they can now hit their car Focused View and pull them all into one concise spot. Bonus points if you make one Focused View for your car and another Focused View for your partner or your child's car. See if that bad boy's worth keeping around, because he might not be. Reddit user BlankTom9 likes to know which bank accounts are funding which categories in their budget. So they made a checking view that consists of all the categories funded by their checking account dollars and a savings view with all the categories they use their savings account dollars to fund. And even though it's really not necessary, for those users who prefer to know which which dollars from which accounts are funding which categories, this is almost like a way to perform a mini reconciliation, because you can see, okay, I have $8,000 in my savings account, click my savings focused view, see that I have $8,000 assigned among all my savings categories, and now I know, all right, they match up. I must be doing it right. Did that make any sense? On a similar note, if you like certain paychecks to fund certain categories in your budget, like paycheck number 1 covering the first 2 weeks of monthly expenses, while paycheck number 2 covers the rest of the month, consider creating paycheck-based views. And speaking of paychecks, Reddit user href has found a way to make breaking the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle and getting a month ahead even easier. By creating focused views for monthly necessities, non-monthly necessities, monthly nice-to-haves, non-monthly nice-to-haves, and seasonal, you can be sure you're prioritizing your limited dollars in the most effective way possible. Start by funding all monthly necessities, followed by funding your non-monthly necessities, and then deciding how much to fund which categories from your nice-to-haves and seasonal categories. When money's feeling tighter or you need to stretch it a little further, you can be sure to fund the nice-to-have categories a little less than normal, or just make sure you're rolling with the punches out of these categories and not your necessities categories. Bonus points if you have targets on all your categories and order them from most pressing at the top to least pressing at the bottom. I said bottom. Bottom. Now, let's say you and your partner divvy out your different expenses among the two of you. You're the one responsible for these 20 categories while they fund and manage these other 20 categories. A whole YNAB budget can be very overwhelming and way more information than they need, so make their load a little easier by giving each one of you your own focused view that contains just the categories you're responsible for. This way, if your partner takes care of the groceries, the utilities, and the outdoor expenses, they can pull up their own focused view and not need to be overwhelmed or distracted by whatever's happening in the mortgage category and the gifts category that you manage. And if your partner's still learning to love money management as much as you do, or is maybe just a little hesitant to dive headfirst into YNAB, ease them into it by creating a view for them that only contains the categories they spend out of, like their fun money or the gasoline category. No need to clutter up their budget screen with car insurance and the kids' sports categories and your 12 monthly subscriptions. I mean, that's overwhelming for anyone. And speaking of kids, let's not forget about some of the simpler ways to use focused views, grouping categories by theme. You can create one focused view for each kid containing their allowance, their sports categories, their school trip savings. See how much each of these ding-dongs are really costing you. Maybe slip in a rent category for each of them. I'm just kidding. Not a bad idea. Maybe you create a fun view when you need inspiration or ideas for a date night or a day out with the kids. You can include eating out, your fun money, hobby categories, your date night category. For us, we have a fun and outings category where we fund things like rock climbing or food truck festivals. So when it's gloomy outside or the kids are just absolute chaos, pull up this category group to see what your options are to escape. My brother, I found out, has a focused view called shopping trip, including every category they might tap into while running errands. So you got your gas, your groceries, home decor, gifts, toiletries, eating out, all the goodies. Or if you have a habit of kind of scrounging up extra money from specific categories at the end of the month, my coworker Kat has a view called empties that she moves all available money out of at the end of each month and back into her ready to assign. This is a great move for those variable categories like utilities or gifts where some months you end with $50 still left in them. Just send them right back up to the top. And if you just need a little inspiration to help you stick a little more closely to your budget, make a dreams-focused view where you put all of your most exciting savings categories to help motivate yourself. That dream trip to Europe you've been wanting to take for years, or the kitchen reno you've been dying to fund. Whenever you're tempted to change the plan, you can pull up your dreams view to help you really decide if the trade-off is worth having less money to fund these goals. We all need a little kick in the motivational booty here and there, right? So it's not a bad idea. It's actually a great idea. Cheers. You can make a wish farm view, themed home or health views. We can focused view it for days, my dudes. So, here any ideas you liked? Ready to implement into your budget? The possibilities are a little bit endless, so keep sharing all the game-changing ways you've found to make the most of focused views in your budget to fall even more in love with the way you spend your money. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hello, my sweet summer budgeters. Oh my gosh, okay. Hello, my sweet summer Something just feels so right when you write it in a script and so wrong when you try to say it out loud. Trying my best to hide the bump. Okay, one more time. That was pretty weird. Why am I this way? I don't know. I have an itch on my eye. Should've lint rolled harder. I'm just really hot. I'm ready for short sleeves. Okay.